Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Aloha. That was a great
Um,
presentation from about the foundation. It really just leads right into what we're talking about today. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. I've got a pretty full presentation here, but it's great to have you all with me today. I'm Dave Hamill. I'm the treasurer and a past president of the Rotary Club of Waikiki. And I've got the privilege and honor to be serving as the district grants chair. And so we're going to be talking about grant management and club qualifications for this coming year. So the agenda today, we're going to go over just some basic stuff because there may be new Rotarians here on the Zoom. But what's the difference between a district grant and a global grant? What is the application process? How does a club create an application for a grant? And what's the timeline of that? What are the requirements and the qualifications? What does a club have to do to be qualified and meet the requirements? Once you've gotten past that, how do you steward the grant? How do you keep records? How do you and then finally, how do you report on it? And what's the potential of being audited for the grant? So let's just first start with the basics. What is a Rotary grant? And as was previously discussed, a portion of the money that each member of each club gives to the annual fund comes back 3 years later. A portion, 50%, comes back 3 years later, and then the district allocates it back to each club based on the amount of money that each club gave. So you can use that for two different things. A portion of it, I believe it's about 50%, goes to a global grant. So your club can participate in a global grant, or it can also go towards what are called district grants. So I'm going to be talking mostly about district grants today, but briefly, the global grants, they're large projects. They're international focused. They require a host club in a foreign country, and usually that's where the project is done, so the club can be monitoring what's happening with that. Usually several clubs participate financially in global grants, and they must be sustainable. They must have measurable outcomes. And so they're great to participate in. A lot of times, really, what you're doing is a club is doing is just giving a project money. A district grant, on the other hand, you get to manage yourself. So it can support local projects here in Hawaii. You can also use it for smaller international projects, but generally speaking, they're done locally. The projects are local. You can partner with other clubs. For instance, the tree planting projects that have been occurring this past Rotary year, lots of clubs are participating in identical types of grants. However, each club actually applies for and participates individually. So even though it might be the same end result, the same overall project, you're still applying for and participating as an individual club. And the funds that come back they get into two large categories: matching and no match. So I'm going to go into that just a little bit more. Again, I'm focusing on district grants here today. They can be used for a variety of projects. They should include some sort of hands-on activity by your club members. And there's reason behind that. There's strategy behind that. Number one, we don't want to just hand out money to, say, another charitable organization. We really want our club members to be involved in the work, and also so that we can try to leverage that for public relations. We want everybody in the state of Hawaii to know what great work we do as Rotary, individual clubs, and of course, collectively. So again, just to go back over it, there's the match and no match amounts, and those are an average of the prior 3 years of your club. And the key, I know it was talked about, is linking it to the share. What share does is it actually returns those funds back to the district. So matching funds. So a portion of the amount that your club is allocated must be matched by club funds. And so those can be by individuals within your club or outside the club. Businesses or outside groups can all contribute towards that portion. However, it does need to be administered at the club level. So if you have a business, say, that's willing to put up some of the matching funds, it does need to be deposited into the club district grant account. No match, those are, I mean, I don't want to say they're free money, but the club does not have to come up with any matching funds to be able to utilize those funds. They are your funds. You can use them pretty much for whatever you want to do on a district grant project. I'm just going to give you this. There was some talk earlier about the allocations. This is the second page of the spreadsheet that went out. You can find this on the website as was discussed. All of the president-elects have a copy of this. But what this does is this shows each individual club in the district, gives the period of time, the 3 years that I talked about in the average, the percentage, that's the percentage of the total giving to the district and what percentage your particular club is going to get. And then it shows the total DDF, how much is going to be allocated to no match, how much to match, and how much for global grants. And we'll have some time at the end here if there are questions. Here's the basic process and timeline for the district grants. And just to let you folks know, there is some overlap between participating in global grants and also district grants. Basically, the forms that are required for both. Okay, so the first thing is to attend a grant management training, which congratulations to all of you here. You're doing it today. There was one done in the fall as well. It's generally done twice a year. Then you need to complete and submit all of your qualification forms, and that's due by May 31st. We're going to go over those forms a little bit more in detail here in just a moment. The other key factor is to submit the final grant report for this current Rotary year. So these grants, the funds were dispersed, the work is being done in the communities, and now's the time in the next 2 months to wrap it up and to submit that final report so that you can be eligible to receive funds next year. Then the other thing we should be starting to do is thinking about what kind of project or projects the club would like to do next year. And what is the budget for that? The budget is probably going to be driven by the allocation, but you're certainly able to go beyond what you've been allocated in terms of the budget. So in other words, if the club has a lot of matching funds they want to put into a great project next year, don't let the allocation limit you. On the other hand, I'd caution that what each club is being allocated is it. That's not going to necessarily change. Although, let me just interject myself right now. There is often clubs that do not participate. They do not either qualify or they don't apply for grant funds. Those go back to the foundation committee of the district to decide what to do with. And so, as an example, about $3,500 for 2020, 2021 was not used by clubs in the district. And so there's going to be a second round of district grant applications that should be coming out very soon, like any day now. Then you write and submit the grant application. That is due by August 1st, and I'm going to go over that a little bit more later. Then you're going to, in the fall or winter, you're going to actually receive the funds, and then you're going to start performing the grant projects. And then again, in May of next year, the final reports will be due for all of those grants. Okay, so let's talk about getting qualified. I know that Kate had asked a question about that earlier. Again, and sorry if I'm being redundant, but attending this grant management seminar is a key. That is one of the key factors. Then there are several forms, the grant qualification forms. There's the financial management plan, the Memorandum of Understanding, and then there's an addendum to the Memorandum of Understanding. Each of those forms should be signed by your president-elect or president in 2021-22. And if you can, get your president-elect designate to also sign those. Not mandatory. It's actually not even mandatory to have the president-elect, but they do need to have a proxy. We do need 2 club members to attend, and if possible, the president-elect or president for next year sign those documents. Again, complete and submit the final reports for this current Rotary year. Attend the seminar and be ready to start submitting your grant applications July 1st to August 1st. The other thing, like I said, talk to your board about projects. These are, it's fun. These district grants are fun projects. So the more people involved, the better. What is the club funding that's going to be required? Then again, the federal tax returns, that would be for your most recently completed fiscal year or Rotary year, because we don't have them for current year yet. And then also what's required is the proof that you have a separate checking account to handle the district grants. And again, you also do need to be current with all of your reporting. So if there's any old final reports for grants that are outstanding, that will disqualify you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the district bank account, because there is probably some questions out there. What this grant does, what the account does, is it manages just the money for the district grant account. So you do need, if you don't have one, most do, I believe, most clubs do, you do need to establish a dedicated bank account, preferably calling it the district grants account. Other names are okay, but it should not be your foundation account, and it absolutely cannot be your regular club account. The reason is you're going to be receiving these district funds, district designated funds, that will be deposited into this district grant account. Then your club will transfer club funds if required. And then all of the disbursements, all of the activity for the grant must come through that district grant account. Again, down below there, it says that if you are going to participate with club funds, that also has to go into that district grant account. So just a few requirements. And the reason why there's so many, I don't want to say, this is actually a very simple thing. It is not that difficult to do. But the reason why clubs and districts have this requirement for having a separate bank account and so on is that that's what Rotary International, that's what the Rotary International Foundation requires us to do. And we actually have to write a grant to RI to receive our district grants. So, these rules that are put in place, they're easy enough to do. But again, you're not supposed to disperse funds from your district grant account for the grant until you've actually received your DDF check. So that's a key factor. You can't backdate checks. It has to be based on having the money in your account already. Again, have two different accounts. You just have to have two different accounts, one for normal club activity, one for the district grant. 2 signatures are required, either on the check itself or a disbursement form. So that's how many clubs do it, is just that 2 people are authorizing the payment, but one is on the is a signer on the check itself. And then you will need proof, physical proof, invoices, receipts, or disbursement. When those are received, they should be forwarded to the club treasurer right away. If there's a difference, if there's a discrepancy, it needs to be understood, figured out, and discussed why, but there should be none. There should be no discrepancy. And then we also ask clubs to retain in physical and electronic form all of the receipts. So that's going to be your grant application itself, the final grant report, and then all of the receipts associated with that grant. So please hold on to that. Okay, I've inserted here, unbeknownst to Naomi and Laura, the actual forms that are on the website, on the district website, and that were emailed recently to your president-elect. So this is the financial management plan, and it's a simple form. You just need to fill it out, and then on the very last page, again, you're going to have your club president and elect for next year, and then the one after that, or a designate, sign off on this. This is the Memorandum of Understanding, and my apologies, it doesn't quite go into PowerPoint quite right, but this is the form, and you want to read through it, make sure you understand what are the requirements, because you're signing and agreeing to this. And then again, it would be signed by the same individuals. This is the addendum to that memorandum, and this specifically outlines the separate bank account requirements and any additional requirements that the district has established in order to receive the grant funds. Very simple stuff. And finally, there's a checklist. This will help you just to make sure you have all of the various forms required. And this is the qualification process. So going through these forms, filling them out, and submitting qualifies you to receive funds next year. And of course, attending this training. Stewardship, I pulled some slides from past District Governor Phil Sammer. There's actually a steward, a chair of stewardship for the district. And ideally, you'd actually have somebody at the club level also. So what a steward does is they oversee that the grant funds are being managed responsibly. They're overseeing everything that, there's, well, just that it goes smoothly. And also that it benefits, that it's going to what you wrote the grant for. Again, the foundation manages grants through tracking, monitoring, investigating allegations, other seminars, and of course, this qualification process that we're in right now. So what does it mean to be a good steward? Well, in this digital age, it's so challenging sometimes to keep everything organized, but retaining the documentation. So what I do is I have a folder on my computer and I put everything for that particular grant right into that folder. And then supervising the project, making sure that the project is going smoothly. Any irregularities are reported. So that should go to the steward chair of the district if there is any irregularities noticed. Submitting the reports. and again, if the club is large enough to have a stewardship chair, it's certainly encouraged. Should not necessarily, or probably shouldn't be, either a treasurer or a club officer. The reason for that is that those are the people that are signing the checks. So it should be another person that is not directly involved in signing the checks. Occasionally, there will be an audit. Well, every year actually there is an audit, and 15% of all clubs get selected for the audit. It's not really a painful process as long as you've kept good records. So what the audit committee for the district is going to ask for is they're going to want to see your final report showing all the funds and how it was spent. You're going to want to see your bank statements, the canceled checks, the signature cards to prove that the people signing the checks are authorized to do so, and any other accounting systems or registers that you may have for them to look at, so they can understand exactly how the funds were spent.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Since we're talking about the final report, can you talk a little bit about the new final report form that we have and where people can find it and how to fill it out?
Sure. Yep. Actually, that's the very next thing I was going to go through. So the final report, well, here it is right here. I pulled this off the web. You can find this also in the same spot on the district website. This isn't the grant application is the same form as the final report. So it's a Excel spreadsheet. We can also get it to you in other formats, but it's very simple. So after you've written the grant and had it approved, you're going to keep that form and use it as the final report. So there's a box here somewhere. I don't know that it showed up properly on this, but it is the exact same form. And so you would complete this form showing how the funds were used. See at the bottom on the right-hand side there, sorry, the spreadsheet got a little squished, but that's where you would put in your final numbers. It also doesn't look like it's showing checking the final box, but believe me, it's on the form. And that's it. And then the club president would sign off on the final report as well.
Excuse me, David, shouldn't the
Yes.
year be 21, 22?
Yeah, probably. I pulled from last year, but yes,
I just pulled it up and it says 2020 to 2021.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know, Kate. We'll get that updated on the web right away.
Okay.
Well, the final report is going to be 2021.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. So the final report will still be 2021. The new grant applications, the only thing really that will change is that date at the top. And by the way, you can change that field. It's not locked.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Sure. So here's where you'd go to find all this information. So all of the qualification forms, the allocation, and the application and final report itself are all in the same spot on the District 5000 website. So here's the team. Here's the team thus far for next year, for Sandy's year. In red, that's me. Feel free to email me direct if you have any questions about district grants. That's my Kuliana. But we've got a great team for the foundation. Laura has agreed to be steward, so thank you, Laura, for doing that. And Ron is doing audits again. And finally, I do want to also thank our incoming district governor, Sandy, who is going to have a great year with all of our help. And we're going to just do amazing things with the grant money locally and possibly internationally. So I know everybody's going to support Sandy next year. Just to recap, again, all the qualification documents and the final reports are due by May 31st. You can email those to grants@rotaryd5000.org. And then, of course, attend this district grant training. And, bottom line, have a great year. It's so much fun to be doing good work in the community with these district grants. So that was it. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Jen has her hand up for a question.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I click on the form site and it just gives me information. I'm wondering where the template is for a new grant application, or do you have to go, only the person that requested the grant has access to the grant form? I'm not sure. When I click on it, and it may be, maybe my computer, but it doesn't have a template.
So Jen, I just want to make sure I understand the question. So are you looking to have a copy of your club's grant application for this current year, or are you looking for a blank form for next year?
Actually, both.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great question. So off the top of my head, I'm not positive who submitted last year's grant to me. I'll have to look. I have a copy of everything. I keep a copy of every grant in the district. So I have a hard copy and a digital copy, and I'd be happy to forward that to you so that you can know what you were supposed to do with last year's money, and then you'll know how to report on it by May 31st.
Thank you. This is
Welcome.
just in case the person that applied is no longer available or can't do it. So that's why I asked.
That's good. Nope. And that's why
Awesome.
Dave.
Could you do us all a favor and send all the person-elects to make sure that our club did turn in a final report? We don't want to presume so and find out later on it's not there.
That's a great,
Don't worry, we will let you know in June. June 2nd, we'll let you know. Okay, Ron McGorlis has his hand up.
I had two questions. One is the grid that you have on the website that shows all the DDF match and not match for our district. When does that document for the next Rotary year become available?
typically those come out in January, February. Generally, they're given to your incoming president. And at often in the past, it was at Pets. I think it comes out a little earlier than that now. So are you talking about 2022, 2023? Is that
No, this document that I downloaded says 2020, 2021. So
There's
I'm
another
presuming the document that you have up there is not for the next Rotary year.
There's another one. The 21-22 is up there as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's there. That's for this
Got
coming
it.
year.
Okay, I see it, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I had a second question.
Let me just explain real fast how that process works, just so everybody's generally knows, is that there is a foundation committee, which is comprised of the foundation, three of the foundation committee members and the incoming DG line. And they get together in January and make the decisions overall as far as how the allocation process is going to work. We can allocate up to 50% of our DDF that comes in to district grants, but it's up to, so they decide that percentage every year. They decide what's going to be given to Polio Plus and to the Peace Centers and to other things like that that will come out of DDF. And then after, so they do that entire process every single January. And then once those decisions are made and recorded, then Mark Harbison, who is the overall grants chair, will do the allocation process. and get it to the incoming district governor-elect, usually so that they can present it at pre-pets or pets, so that the PEs have a chance to understand the process as well. Okay, now your second question. Thanks.
We recently, I think, submitted a grant where there's some additional grants made available. I think a $5,000 grant. Have you awarded those yet? Or when, if you haven't, do we know when they'll be received or decided on?
That's a Naomi question because it's a district governor grant. Go ahead.
Okay, so we did accept the applications and chose $25,000 worth. The checks have already been mailed out. So for Big Island, we had Salvation Army and diapers. So Hilo Bay and Hilo got it. On Kauai, it was the Kupuna Park for $5,000.
Great.
So the
That's
funds
what I
were
wanted to know.
distributed. Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you.
So that money came from, go ahead, Naomi, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, you know, we gave some money to the HOC, which is the host organization committee for the convention. Well, we got reimbursed by Rotary International, so we're using those funds. Before we go to the next two questions, I wanted to show on this. This is the page under foundation. So you go to foundation grants, and so you have the allocation for next year, 21-22. You have the allocation for this year. So when you're looking at your final report for this year, this is 2021 allocation. So you click on it and the spreadsheet comes up. This form, the district grant application and final report, it says 2021, but you can use that for this year as well by changing this coming year by changing the date on the top. But all of you should have a folder. It's a perpetual folder, 5 years of information. And so your grant application that you submitted at the beginning of the year should be in there in digital form and hard copy. So look for those forms. If you can get the digital one, all you need to do is fill out that the final report numbers, check off the box at the top that says it's final and sign the bottom on the signature block. And you can use that same form. And we did that because sometimes it is hard to find that original one you submitted. And we wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to submit your final. Okay, so if you can't find it, Dave Hamill does have it, but you should get in the habit of having that perpetual folder for your club. Okay, so now Paul Field has a question.
Yeah, just a couple of simple questions. One, when we file our grant application, we don't always have a PE in place at that point in time. So who would the second signature be? Next year's president, who would be the other person who could sign?
You.
Okay.
I started to say, this is always an opportunity that we like to use to pick the most likely suspect and talk to them about signing it and then talk to them about signing on. But it can be your foundation chair. It can be a past president. It's just any other member of the club, but it should be someone who is involved in foundation in some way, yes, or get them involved.
Okay, and the other question, I already submitted our final report for the grant for 2021. Will we get formal acceptance of that? When I submitted it, Dave got back to me and said, I got it, and I'll let you know if there are any problems. I didn't hear anything back, but will you let us know that it has been accepted so that I won't panic at May 31st?
Yes, absolutely, Paul. You got the stock answer back, and that just meant that I haven't checked it yet, but no news is usually good news. I will let everybody know once I've reviewed the final reports that everything is acceptable, and I'll be working on yours soon.
Wonderful, thank you. That's it for my questions.
Thank you for getting it in.
Thank you very much, Paul, for getting your final report. And I know there was a couple of people who asked for this presentation, and Naomi, I'm assuming this is also going to be available on the web. So anybody that would like to download it and use it at their club, feel free to do so. There was another question about whether or not viewing this presentation would meet the requirements for qualification. And I'm going to have to defer that because I'm not sure if that's acceptable or not. Naomi or Laura, what's your stance on that?
Well, our stance is that we hope to be able to have an online qualification process in the future. We wanted to have it this year, but it didn't happen, right? What we need is verification. So once we get that step in place, then the answer will be yes. But hopefully you have had 2 club members who during the course of the 2 presentations have attended the in-person seminar. Usually what we have done in the past, if there's any club who has not met that requirement, we will individually talk to them. And then what I did last year is I had them go in and watch this. And then I asked them some questions at the end, just to see if they had actually watched it and paid attention. So we will work to get everyone qualified because we want everyone to be able to use the funds that your members contributed 3 years ago that you're getting back now to use. They're your dollars. Need to use them.
And Laura, let me just go out on a limb and offer that should any club not have the people attend, I am happy to do an individual training with them via Zoom.
God bless you. Thank you. And I'll be back up for him in case he needs it. The other thing is, do we know, Naomi, all of the people's clubs that are associated with names? I know last year we had a little problem in that we had a couple of just iPhones that we couldn't identify. So as long as everybody, if there's anybody who doesn't, so the iPad person wearing a mask, it makes it really hard. So if you'll just go into chat and say, hi, I'm so-and-so from this club, that will help the process. Okay.
Is that Vanessa? iPad? Okay, so that's Vanessa from.
Hi, Vanessa. Okay.
Okay, so normally we have a fall seminar, which is the training that is the main training for this, for the grant management. So the fall seminar, Sandy, is that September 17th? Is that the date, Sandy? Okay, well, we'll get the date out to you, but it's in the fall. Fall seminar is when we have the main training and we need 2 people there. So your president for the next year would attend that one with another person. Okay, so this one is kind of like a makeup. So anyone, we have a list already and we'll update that and get back to the clubs that don't have their 2. Okay, we're at the top of the hour. Any questions? Laura, you have something?
I would just, could you just remind everybody on when Mark and Murray are going to be doing their global grants presentation, international service global grants? I'm sorry, I don't have I'm in the kitchen, so I don't have anything with me.
Okay, international global grants is on April 17th at 11:20.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the schedule for the sessions are on the website with the codes for the Zoom. So we're at the top of the hour. If you have any other questions, you can stay, but otherwise, thank you for coming. Sandy, do you want to say a few words to close out the session?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Based on, I think, the feedback that I have been receiving and the interactions, it looks like we've had a really productive day. So I encourage you to go forward, prepare yourself to be change makers, and look at ways we can better serve the community in the upcoming post-pandemic period. So aloha. We'll see you at the next training.
Oh, hi. Thank you all for coming.
Hey, Paul.
Thanks, Steve. Great job.
Hey, Naomi,
Yes.
as long as you're still there, this is Paul Field. What do you do in a case like this where 2 of us are on the same internet link? I'm only going to show up once, but Jane and I are both here. How do we let you know? And we did the same thing in the fall.
Yeah, we have both of you down for the fall.
Okay, good.
Thank
That's all I
you.
needed to know.
Thank you. Great morning. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Dane
Great.
and Paul, good to see you guys.
Great
Good
to see
you
you.
guys.
But
Hey,
the
Dave.
answer's put it in the chat.
Dave Hamill, I was looking at this allocation for Waikiki for global grants. It looks like we have 4351 possibly.
I figured you'd latch right onto that, Adrian.
Money, 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 go spend it. All right.
Well, that's more than last year. That's a very nice amount.
Yes, so, you know.
It
Oh.
is, that's, that, now that is for Patty's year. Patty, look.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's all, you know, that
It's
doesn't matter.
You can see Patty smiling.
Yeah, well, I'm
That's right.
still international for
There you go.
next year, so I'm gonna be, what time is that one on April 17th?
11:20.
11 what?
11:20.
11:20. All right. Why 11:20? I'm gonna make it 11.
Whatever. Yeah. You can,
Whatever. Yeah, right. Okay.
there's a good one before it too. I just don't remember what it was.
I think that Paul sent out a list of what they all were, so
Yeah, they're all there.
I definitely.
It's all on the website, Adrian.
Are they going to be presenting the different global grant projects that are available? Is that what that?
They'll have some of it, but the one that we're going to talk about, the available grants, is going to be more in October, because you don't need to make that decision till November.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
I know Arjun will have something.
Yeah.
He'll have something.
Not sure yet.
Yeah, and Ham will have something.
But I did have a quick question for Dave, but not that important. That's why I didn't ask
Go ahead.
earlier.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
How
ahead.
does this match and unmatched math work? So is it like 50-50 or is there a
No.
math, or how does it work?
Well, on the allocation form, it actually shows the percentages. So I believe it's a 20-30 split.
Oh, okay.
So of the 50% that comes back, then of that, it's then split again, about 50% for global, 20% I believe is match, and 30% no match.
District.
I think that's right. Is that right?
Yeah, and the reason for that is we used to have what was called a district simplified grant.
Mhm.
That's all we had to use locally. Everything else went globally, and it was 20% of the DDF. So when we started this new allocation process with Future Vision, we kept the 20% no match for clubs to be able to use that if they did not have funds to match. So that just stayed the same. And so far, every year, the foundation team has elected to keep that the same. But at any given point, the foundation team can decide to use more money for global grants, or they decide that, okay, we don't need the matching funds anymore, or we don't need the no matching funds anymore. We tend to just, keep it as simple as possible so that we can get more people understanding the process, hopefully. But the 20% is yours for the asking. All you have to do is fill out the application and you get that DDF. And then with 30%, you say, okay, our club can match that amount. And so you will get that amount of DDF and the club has to match it for the project. That's
Thank
all.
you for bringing that. That helps. I really, so, and another thing, I just have one situation. Actually, this is related to global grant. The global grant we were doing last year, drinking water project. So when we wired the money, because of the dollar rate change, there is a good thing. There is extra money, about like $1,000 or something like that. How does the closing work? Do we need to ask them to send all the bank information, or do we need to get approval to use that about $1,000?
So this is on a global grant.
This is on a global grant.
District grant. Was this district grant funds or global grant funds?
This is a global grant.
Okay, if it's a global grant, the nice thing is that Rotary International takes care of all of the Dave Mosern, jump in if I'm doing it wrong, but takes care of all of the dollar exchange problems. So if you're short, they make it up. If you're over, they take it, so that you don't have you're reporting on is you're reporting on the actual dollars spent, not on what you said you were going to spend that then got exchange rate changed.
That is correct. All the money that is given for a global grant is sent to RI, and then RI disseminates the money at their discretion. They may give it all, or they may break it out into multiple payments to the host club. And the host club is responsible for all the receipts and all of the documentations that's necessary for them to release the funds and to make sure that it's being properly allocated and used properly. So all the receipts need to come back to RI, and the audits will come back from RI also.
But that's a great thing to bring up, Arjun, because it is a reminder to clubs who are going to try to do an international project with district grant funds.
Yeah.
It has to be done within that year. You've got to get that final report in by May 31st. And if there is any difference in the exchange rate, the club is responsible for making that adjustment. Honolulu did one the first year. Hey, you know, what can we say, right? And it was wonderful. And we did a little water well for some people. And it came back with all of the receipts. And we had an extra $100 because the exchange rate was good that we had to spend. So the nice thing was we called them up and said, okay, you need to spend more baht to equal this $100 so that it doesn't to go back to RI, so that you can always overspend, but if you underspend, the money has to go back to RI.
Arjun, the same thing happens if sometimes there is an increase in the cost of goods that you're buying, and then you need to come up with more money. So it's happened the other way around, where you know the medical equipment that you might be buying, we found out that we couldn't buy as much as we thought we would.
Yeah. It's good fun, but you know, it's a really good use of the money, and it really leverages nicely on those global grants, right? And the district grants are really easy because there isn't that oversight that you have RI, but you've got to make sure you get it done and you get it right. Yep.
Well, going back to the district grants, Arjun, this spreadsheet is for next year, 21-22.
Yeah.
And so you see how it goes with the match and the no match?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
That's in the district website too, right?
Yep. And you have the good fortune to be in a club that has a culture like Dave Mosman was talking about with Honolulu Sunrise. Honolulu Sunset has that same culture of giving that Rich Ziegler has instilled in his club members over the years. And so, you know, you have an incredible amount of money that comes back that you're able to just use all over the place, which is wonderful.
I came to know that history of our club. So most of the thing, it's influence from Waikiki, actually.
Yeah, that too.
So.
That too.
Yeah, we need to up our donations.
Well, yeah, see, and next year it's going to be even more exciting for you because I believe Iman is going to be our Rotary area, our regional, our area ARRFC. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so he's going to be at the zone level, the assistant Rotary regional Rotary Foundation chair. Anyway, I believe I saw his name on the list, so I think he said yes. So we're really excited about that.
Can I